2 volumes by Jack Smith about Donald Trump's criminal efforts to overturn the election were just released. And nobody's talking about it right now because everybody's talking about what a scumbag Pete Hegseth is alleged to be. But you know, there's some serious stuff in here. I mean, Jack Smith claims that Donald Trump was trying to basically psychologically isolate and physically isolate Mike Pence. He says, this is from the report, Mr. Trump wanted no one else speaking with Vice President Pence. Co-conspirators were already implementing a secret plan to use Mr. Pence's ministerial role as president of the Senate to Mr. Trump's advantage. In repeated conversations day after day, Mr. Trump pressed Mr. Pence to use his ministerial position as president of the Senate to change the election outcome, often by citing false claims of election fraud as justifications. He even falsely told Mr. Pence that the Justice Department was finding major infractions. So Trump lied to his own vice president to try to get him to go along with this. He has secret communications with Jeffrey Clark over at the Justice Department, in, quote, in contravention of policies designed to protect the independence of the Justice Department. Well, surprise, surprise, Trump is going to use the Justice Department this next time as his own, personal prosecutors. Racist threats against Judge Tanya Chutkan, who is black. She received racist comments the day after his arraignment. For example, Mr. Trump posted on social media, if you go after me, stay one of his supporters. This is from the report. Called the district court judge's chambers and said, hey, you stupid slave N-word, if Trump doesn't get elected in 2024, we are coming to kill you, so tread lightly, B-word. You will be targeted personally, publicly, your family, all of it, end quote. The Jack Smith goes on to say Donald Trump was basically in charge of the January 6th killers. Video evidence from that afternoon shows rioters in real time crediting Mr. Trump with their presence and conduct at the Capitol, writes Jack Smith. For example, as the crowd sought to push past officers protecting the Capitol, rioters shouted, we've been invited here. We were invited by the President of the United States. He notes, as the day wore on, rioters continued to obey Mr. Trump's commands, and, goes on from there. Donald Trump would have been convicted if Merrick Garland had begun the prosecution as soon as Merrick Garland was appointed attorney, waited almost 2 years. And this is why Trump is becoming president rather than becoming prisoner 1030527 Leavenworth, or in the federal prison of your favorite federal prison. In fact, this is what Jack Smith writes. He writes, indeed, but for Mr. Trump's election and imminent return to the presidency, the office assessed that the admissible evidence was sufficient to obtain and sustain a conviction at trial. In other words, we would have thrown his ass in jail. You know why? Merrick Garland. I mean, it's just the indictment charges Trump with conspiring to obstruct the election certification, defrauding the U.S. of accurate election results, and depriving U.S. voters of their voting rights. This is serious stuff. Smith writes, my office had one North Star, to follow the facts and law wherever they led, nothing more and nothing less. To all who know me well, the claim from Mr. Trump that my decisions as a prosecutor were influenced or directed by the Biden administration or other political actors is, in a word, laughable. The admissible evidence was sufficient to obtain and sustain a conviction at trial. Quote, Trump engaged in an unprecedented criminal effort to overthrow the legitimate results of an election in order to retain power. Quote, the evidence established that the violence was foreseeable to Mr. Trump, that he caused it, that it was beneficial to his plan to interfere with the certification, and that when it occurred, he made a conscious choice not to stop it and instead to leverage it for more delay. This guy should be in jail for this. The New York Times reporting on July 22nd that Garland had not focused on Trump's role in the attempted coup until Cassidy Hutchinson testified. That public testimony, quote, jolted Garland and the DOJ into action, according to the New York Times. Washington Post, same thing. Garland's, quote, determination to steer clear of any claims of political motive has chilled efforts to investigate the former president for more than a year. The Post notes, quote, you couldn't use the T word, as in Trump, said one former justice official briefed by prosecutors. I mean, this is a crime against America, what Trump did. And he's going to be president? Trump consistently encouraged violence against his perceived opponents, says the report. The horrific injuries caused by the police officers, to the police officers by Trump supporters, including, quote, traumatic brain injury and trauma. Jack Smith writes, the integrity of the United States, was being challenged, basically. Smith had the courage to stand up to Trump and take him on. Garland, not so much. It's just incredible. And of course, as I mentioned, you know, you've got now Pete Hegseth saying, oh yeah, sure, I did things that would get me kicked out of the military, but I should still lead them. Yeah. Oh, and I'll stop drinking if I become Secretary of Defense. Not to worry. But I won't promise to resign if I do get drunk. It's crazy. The grievance machine. I'll be right back with that. Stay with us.